Oh, hello.
Hey, Angela, how you doing? You all right?
Okay, welcome from. Welcome from. Yay! So it worked. Technically, everything worked. So welcome, Prof. Bob Khanna. So all of us here welcome you. Thank you so much. We're super excited to have you on today's Lockdown Live. And you come with a wealth of experience. You've been not only practicing aesthetic facial coach, have to have Prof. Bob on with us. As I was saying, a huge wealth of experience, not only practicing facial aesthetics for the last 24 years, but also training other doctors, dentists, plastic surgeons, derms on facial aesthetics. And besides facial aesthetics, also very much involved in implantology, integration of hard and soft tissue in the face, TMJ, head and neck pain, creating protocols related to toxin, fillers, threads, as well as PRP. And okay, so that's your practice. Besides the practice, you also have a training institute where that's at your home in Reading. And there's the training institute, and you get invited. There's a lot of stuff. You get invited to some select international congresses where you do your master classes, demos, and lectures. And a Prof of facial aesthetics. And also, this is amazing, is the president of the International Academy of Advanced Facial Aesthetics. They have this spectacular Congress and charity ball every year where they raise hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds. So I was hoping to actually attend this year. So I hope I can still attend right at the end of the year. Tell us a little bit more about that, Bob.
About the charity. It's something, first of all, let me just say thank you for inviting me on. It's a pleasure to be actually a guest for a change rather than run my own live webinars. Now,
thank you for coming. Yeah.
The International Academy of Advanced Facial Aesthetics I set up in 2005. Okay? And the idea was to use my connections, my wealth of experience and network to actually raise a lot of money for children's charities. So we're really proud of that because we've raised in excess of £260,000 so far for organizations such as Make-A-Wish Foundation and what have you. So yeah, it's going strong. I'd love to see you guys there. And, you know, it's just one small, very important part of what I'm involved with, as well as obviously the international teaching and so on. So it's all good. It's all good.
Cool. So, and you're such a busy guy. So I know you all on lockdown, also in the UK. So how has the experience been for you, where it's always a lot of work as well? What are you doing while you on lockdown, and when do you expect to get back?
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest with you. Like with most people, it was a shock because it was imposed on us. When things aren't in your control and that, you're thrust into this awful situation, you kind of want to hit back a little bit, the first few days, weeks, what have you. Now that we've all sort of settled in, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm seeing the positive aspects of this. It's a great opportunity. I'm a family man. I've got 3 lovely children and a wife and a mother with me. And, it's a great opportunity to spend more time, quality time with your family, do things that you really keep talking about and you never really get a chance to do. Doing a lot of sports with my boys. They're all 3 boys. There's a lot of testosterone in my household. Sadly for my wife. She says she just wants a little girl in the house, because it's just crazy. So I'm seeing it as a massive positive, I'm not really looking at this as a negative. Listen, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for us to be challenged in a way that we could only imagine. So I'm looking at this in a very, very different way. And I think this will be the making of most of us, because it's flight, isn't it? It's survival of the fittest. So we've got to find ways. And I think, the opportunity is there if you wish to take it, to better yourself, be stronger, fitter, more knowledgeable, do things that you only dreamed of doing. You've got the time now. If I told you the list of things I'm doing, Anjana, you would be so surprised.
I know. Crazy. I actually feel like I'm busier now than I was before.
It's crazy.
I'm resting, I'm not really resting. So you've been at this for 24 years. That's a very long, illustrious career. Where did you start? Like, why did you start on this path of aesthetics?
So number one, I never had any aspirations to aesthetics whatsoever. It happened by chance because my background is obviously oral surgery. So surgery is my main thing, and I love doing a lot of bone, soft tissue manipulation, and aesthetics, of course, when it comes to the cosmetic zone. 24 years ago, I was on an implant program in Canada. I was very fortunate enough to meet the Carruthers team. And
oh, wow.
It got me thinking in a way that I didn't think I would be thinking. I started thinking that, this is something that I could certainly introduce into my practice, into my systems. And it was then, Angela, you've heard me many times talking about this, that, the face has to be synergized together, If a dentist is only working here with no reference to the rest of the face, then you're missing a big trick. And likewise, if somebody's just working on the eyes or the nose or the ears, for example, again, you're not really able to achieve the most harmonious results. And that, for me, is a massive, massive factor, and partly why I teach what I do, full facial aesthetics. And I've done that since the day I started. A couple of years after I started teaching globally, and I haven't looked back. And part of what I do is innovate. I develop new systems, new strategies to make us even safer as clinicians, and predictable outcomes, because that's what I'm all about, predictable outcomes.
Predictable and safe outcomes. So that brings me actually onto the next question. Is it has been a long and successful career, and what you've built your practice on, like your value system, the integrity. So, to go for that long, and it's a tough industry. People think it's glam, but it's not actually. What is your value system when you practice?
Really simple. And I tell this to every single one of my delegates. Make sure your clinic, and in fact, when you're a clinician, you've got to be patient focused. You've got to be, the patient is at the forefront of all your thought processes. Okay? Because if that bit's wrong, everything else is wrong to start with. Okay? Your thought process is wrong. So in other words, if you're thinking pound signs, or in your case, the rand, all right? If you're just going in thinking the rand or the pound or the dollar, then your treatment plannings are going to be very tainted. They're going to be very doctored by that mindset. So yes, be the best clinician that you can be, and particularly those people who are starting out. Put your life and soul, blood and sweat into being the best you can be, so that you can produce the best outcomes for the patient. Don't worry about the pound signs at that stage. That stuff will come the more you develop your reputation, because that's the thing. You've got to harness that reputation. You've got to make sure, like you said, you used some powerful words, integrity. That doesn't come by chance. You've got to develop that. And that's something that gives you staying power. You want staying power in this industry.
The patient.
You need sustainability.
Yes, and you have to put the patient at the center of your consultation, your work, because that's why you're there. It is very important. And it's easy to lose sight, especially with all the bells and whistles. But I think if you do put your patient at the center of your work, you actually get a sense of relief. You can sleep better at night. And talking about, patients and their beliefs as well, going into influencer culture. So influencer culture, we're all influencers. I think everybody influences someone else. But when I mean influencer culture, I mean Kardashian type influencer culture has become enmeshed into a world of aesthetics. Now, with this pandemic that's happened, do you think it's important anymore? Is it relevant? Was it important? Should it have been important? What's your on influencers?
Well, look, influencers it's just another form of marketing, so It's just another form. I come from pre-digital era. I'm that old. Okay, Angela. So we didn't have social media. We didn't have the internet, for God's sake. That's how ancient I am. So when I see new forms every year, every few years, you see new methods of marketing. Influencers is just another form. So I don't really have a problem with it. And I would say, as a generalization, for me, what's more important, however you market yourself, all right, make sure your message is on point and it's not false. Make sure it's ethical and it's a strong message, and you're not sort of, you're punching above your station, because how many experts do you want in this field, right? Everybody, is a lip king, a lip queen, and this and this, and they're just like fresh out of med school, and I'm seeing this a lot. You've got to earn your stripes, before you can start making those sort of claims. To this day, 24 years later, I don't call myself those things because I think it's very trashy when you start talking that way. I think it gives the false message to patients. And I think patients are getting savvy. They're starting to get smart. They need to see somebody with integrity who's going to put them first rather than just a glossy website or social media presence, So my message would be, if you are going to shout about yourselves and you've got to do that, you've got to self-promote, of course, make sure it's based on solid substance. It's at solid foundations, because you need sustainability. And so I would say influencers do play a part, and I think they'll continue to play a part post-COVID. But I think I would just like to see that cleaned up a little bit, if I'm being honest.
Okay. Yes. And then post-COVID, like going into that, the world isn't ending. We are still going to carry on. What do you foresee trend-wise post-COVID? I know that, they always talk about this red lipstick index post-World War II, and economically all over the world it's a bit different. We're in South Africa and we all very worried about what's going to happen here. Very different from when one of my colleagues speak to someone yesterday on a live in Norway. 90% of their population, 90% their population is getting 90% of their income from the government. So it's different, but yeah. So globally, what do you see happening in aesthetics? Do you think it's will we bounce back, or what's going to happen?
Well, you're probably talking to the wrong guy on this, because I'm not doom and gloom, so I'm Mr. Positive. But I'm going to give you some insight into this, because I have been around a little bit longer than you, Angela, on this earth. And, the only thing you can do when you have these sort of global pandemics, this global crisis, and you mentioned global economic crisis, because ultimately that is going to be the aftermath of what we're all going to experience. All you can do is look at the historicals, okay? So post-Second World War, I think we've had 4 major global recessions, okay? One in 1975, one in 1981, 1991, and 2009, which affected the whole world, all right? By definition, we had mass mayhem, But, interestingly, what we've seen is, you talk about trends when it comes to spending and retail spending, and particularly if we sort of move this to our sector. There was a lovely study done in 2010 by the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, and they actually looked at the trends with regard to spend on, say, cosmetic surgery and non-surgical aesthetics. And you know what they found? Instead of going down, things actually went up. And in fact, the stats show us up to 10 to 24% increase the following year. So a year after a massive meltdown, a recession, somehow people are doing it. And let me tell you why my theory on this. I'm going to call it my YOLO effect.
Okay.
YOLO, you only live once type attitude.
Yes.
And this because people are, let's be honest, people are dying left, right, and center. So the knee-jerk reaction is, you know what? Why am I going to wait till I'm retirement age for that nest egg to spend on myself? I'm going to start living life a little bit. I'm going to start spending on things that I was saving up to do. So I think what you're going to find over the next 2-3 years, people are going to be a bit more spendthrift on luxury items, such as what we do. Let's be honest, most of what I do is non-essential apart from the surgical side. So these are luxury items. Nobody ever died of a Botox deficiency. Nobody ever died of a filler deficiency.
They haven't
So to answer your question, I think we're in for a bit of a surprise, and I'd love to be proved otherwise. So I think the future's bright, and I think the people that are going to benefit the most are the ethical clinicians. So if you've got an ethical practice built on solid foundations, that's going to stand you in good stead. You've got a good solid base, which I think patients are going to realize, and reputation is key. I've got patients going back 24 years, and they've followed me for 24 years, and they will not go anywhere else. And that hasn't come by chance. And I'm sure you've got your fans, and everybody who's listening has got their fan base. You should give yourself a pat on the back because you've worked hard for that, and you've invested a lot of time and effort into being the best clinician because you've got that patient's interests at the forefront. And I think that is what's going to give you, that's going to pay dividends post-COVID, because I think, if you've got a solid base, you're just going to jump straight in.
And then, Bob, treatments-wise, so, we haven't really spoken about, I've seen a lot of webinars on fillers and all of that, but threads are very, very, very popular in South Africa, and there's a particular brand that's rising up as well. So we've got polylactic acid threads. We can't say their names because they're medical devices here, and then PDOs. What are your preferences? What sort of things do you do with threads? And you do a lot of them. I'm sure you do.
Yeah. I've been using threads. For over 15 years. And the wonderful thing is that I've seen a lot of evolution of threads and the market. Yes. I've used permanent threads in the past, and obviously now we're pretty much in the era of resorbable threads. And, some of these companies, I know them very well. The owner of the one you're talking about is a very close friend of mine, a very, very good system. And importantly, innovative. They're constantly developing. And I think that's important. As you don't want to rest on your laurels as a company or as a clinician. You've got to constantly try and be better. I like the company that you're talking about because they're doing really, really well. I also like PDO type threads, but I think the most important thing is not the material. It's what do you do with the material and how you use it. So there's that very important link that you need to address. So in answer to your question, yes, threads have 100% got a place. And in fact, I'm going to be doing a whole session on threads alone in my series. So anyone who wants to join in, feel free.
Is that the Facebook Live series? Is that the Facebook Live?
I do a whole series on Facebook Live for my SOS
very good. I watched the lip one on Tuesday. So if anyone's watching that's a practitioner, I watched the lip one. It was pretty good.
It's all free. It's not going to cost you anything. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of knowledge going your way. So
nothing will really be for free. People have to recover then. But just talking about threads like when you're talking about the new HA coated thread, we love it. It's really, really popular. Patients look amazing. But I think also what's really important is patient selection. So it's not really a fixer or like replacement for a facelift, but patient selection also for me mentally and psychologically, because it's not an easy treatment to endure as a patient, I think. But I think it's a great treatment modality. And then another big thing of yours, which I really like and appreciate, is profile balancing. So you're big into profile balancing. When I first saw you at FACE in 2018, you described this. It's not this new way of, I think it was more related to the lips, but the whole profile was your BK line, P-line system. So tell us about profile balancing, the importance, and like your history with that.
Yeah, so I developed the concept of profiloplasty back in 2005 when I launched in Monaco. And what I've done year on, year out is I've developed that further, and I've developed new strategies, a sort of more algorithmic way of assessing a patient and then treatment planning and then delivering the treatment. So my BKP line system, and you'll get that if I could screen share, which you can't on Insta Live, I'd show you. Essentially, in a nutshell, what it does is it will take into account all structures from the forehead, nose, lips to the chin. Okay, so we look at the facial silhouette in close detail and marry that up with all of these features, including the midface. So believe it or not, even the mid-face is under influence in the profile. Okay, in other words, the forward projection of the cheeks in both males and females has to be respected before you even start. So you've got to have a very strong handle as to what you're going to do before you start. You take into account, as I said, the nose and the chin. Even when I'm talking about lips, how important it is to reference the tip of the nose and particularly the Pulgonian, but not just the Pulgonian, but the Nathion and the Menton when you're referencing the lips. So what my P-line system does, it forces you to think about those structures so you can't go wrong. Before you even start, you know what your limits are, how far forward you can project, which means how much product you're going to put in and where, before you even start. So you have a very, very accurate way of treatment planning in the diagnostic phase. And then your delivery becomes super easy. There's no hidden surprises.
I see Katerina over there says profiloplasty all the way. She's completely correct. So, and I did it, but it was like a teen. It's not like your level yet. A little lecture on profiloplasty at one of our congresses. And the origin of your profile starts when you are really teeny. So, and we do a lot of work like this, we're dentists from mouth breathing and nose breathing.
Yep.
So a lot of people start using these they call myofunctional devices. They're these little rubberized things you chew, like, your kids chew on. And they actually influence your face. And it starts from feeding. So children that are bottle fed often end up being mouth breathers versus children that are breastfed. Depends on the position of the baby, and it changes their face. So you can get if you're a mouth breather, a hook nose, a small chin, an odd neck, asymmetry, and an odd posture. And so it's interesting how it starts with
relates.
Let
me add to that without going into too much detail for this particular show. I'll give you an example of that, because one of the reasons how I developed my profiloplasty concepts was based on cephalometric analysis of patients' dentoskeletal balance. Okay, and one of the important things is, if you understand that our primary role as a human being is, of course, to be able to survive, is oxygenation, and that's very topical right now that we've got COVID, trying to dampen that down. But oxygenation is key. Now, if, for example, you have a redundant maxilla, so your maxilla is malformed and congenitally malformed, you've effectively wiped out a cubic area of oxygen capacity in those sinuses. Okay, so what your body will do to try and compensate for airflow will actually try and gain cubic capacity effectively somewhere else. Guess where that's going to be? I'm just going to give you one example: the nose. So what you'll find is that most people that have got redundant maxilla will have a very large nose. They generally have a very big nasal cavity in the piriform fossa, due to the fact it's a compensatory mechanism. And that's just one little tip I'll give you. So it's because you'll see a lot of patients that you're going to be fixing for this, non-surgical or surgical rhinoplasty. And like you've just addressed, or you touched on, it's understanding the root causes of the problem. Okay, and in fact, early intervention in adolescence in children can actually mark you very well. In fact, I did this to my son. In fact, one day I'll show you. He's now 17. At the age of 12, I actually put him in a functional appliance to actually grow his maxilla. So this poor guy hated me because he had the headgear, and I'm literally, with traction, I'm bringing his maxilla out. At the same time, I'm retarding mandibular downward forward growth, because he was heading towards a very class 3 structure. And because of my knowledge, I could see that was happening. So I thought, no, we're going to stop that. So we played catch up. So catch up with the maxilla and mandible. And now, if you look at him 17, downside more handsome than I am, you know. So and you know, it saved him a fortune on surgery.
I've got a 7-year-old daughter. We've also got a Myo brace. So I made her watch one of our webinars, and she was shocked. She's like, you know, about her face and whatnot. So she wears it now and then, and she even tells her dad that he should wear a Myo brace to. I don't know where she got the idea, but to slim his jawline. So that's what she's been telling him. And then I got so many questions. What is your signature procedure?
Oh man, I mean, obviously most people know me for my heart lips, which I developed in 2001, which is you know, fashioned by many celebrities around the world. Trained thousands and thousands of doctors into the concept, the techniques, and the delivery of creating heart lips. And of course, profiloplasty is a big one. You know, those two things are generally what, you know, international conferences ask me to talk on a lot. But of course, I talk about the whole face in detail because it's all interlinked. But I'm probably known for those things more than most things, I would say. You know, heart lips and profiloplasty, profile balancing, as you call it, is what you know, Bob Khanna is mostly known for. Yeah.
You know, you've already, how long is the live on? You did a live on Tuesday. So how long is it still going to be on Facebook for, the live you did yesterday?
You know, good question. But you know what we've done is, if you go onto my page, Dr. Bob Khanna Training Institute, you can actually, in fact, what I'll do is I'll send you a link if you can't find it for your viewers. You can go straight onto the live section and you can actually see all the archived shows that I've done during COVID. So you can go and watch them again. They've been uploaded on there.
Session, because it showed the profile, the P line, the BK line, and the lip. Okay. And someone who's seen your talk on profile balancing, Shannon says she's seen your talk and it's really good. Thank you, Shannon.
Good.
And
thank you.
So myths. Okay, so yes, you were talking about full. Okay, we'll get to myths now, but full face treatment. So, okay, done with line, not done. I wouldn't say done with line chasing because people still like their lines done. So that's why there's this trend towards skin boosting, skin improvement. But like, it's not like a line chasing, fold chasing paradigm anymore. Now people are hopefully not. I don't think it's. I think it's a generalized. Maybe after many years, you look at the whole face, treating the whole face. So, like, how do you tell a patient that, you know, that the whole face is really important, and also safely, how much to do the time? Like, what is, like, yes, you want to treat the whole face, but what is safe?
Yeah. So, you know, to not that you say this to the patient, but, you know, first of all, we've got to change the mindset of the clinician. All right. So, you know, because when I stood up in, you know, big audiences in Monaco talking about full face treatment, it was at a time where a lot of people were just doing, say, lips and a bit of forehead toxin. They didn't have the stomach to digest full face treatment. A lot of people would say that's over treatment. That's over treatment. Now it's great to see that most people are doing this and they've come on board. So number one, we need to fix the clinician. And the way I like to liken this, and sorry for the analogy, but you don't paint the front door when the house is falling down. All right? Okay. You've got to look at the whole house.
No, sorry, I just had this image because, you know, there's a lot of older patients that come in and they just want their lips done, you know, and everything is...
So don't go saying that to a patient. I mean, it's a bit like waxing the bonnet of a car and leaving the rest of the car. You know, why would you do that? It's better to address everything as a whole. And everything's linked. When you start learning this, when you come on board, you know, my concept, you'll realize how everything is so interlinked. And the more you learn, the more you link everything together. There's absolutely no way I would just treat somebody's lips without a full appreciation of the three-dimensional setup. And that involves good photographs in various views. So here, three-quarters, profile. You've got to take proper views of every single, and then the dynamic situation, okay? You need to get the data first. So what you do, very easy, I call it my co-diagnostic approach. You share that information with the patient. You just say, listen, I'm just getting some data together about everything to do with you because I like to treat you as a whole. You know, I treat my patients holistically. show them the data, show them on an iPad and say, right, okay, this is what we've got. You don't even have to say anything. Zip. Because that patient will automatically say, oh, I hate my nose, I hate this, and they came in for this. Already they'll start diagnosing things that, because they can see it. If they can see it, they can understand it. If they can't see it, they can't understand it. So therefore, you talking about treatments that don't really appear to have any relevance to what they're asking for is never going to go down well. So you've got to make them see the problem. And so your job as a clinician is give them the power, okay? And then your job is super easy. They just give you that treatment plan. And you're just like the provider of treatment. Your job is to knit it all together, whether you do it all in one session or over several sessions and da-da-da-da-da. And by the way, you don't just look at the profile and look at every aspect of the face. You look at the tissues, you look at the skin.
Yes.
You look at the fat, you look at the muscles, you look at the bone. How many clinicians out there, Anjana, are just not even doing anything? They don't even have an answer for skin. They don't do anything about skin, which is crazy. That's like the canvas. That's the first thing that you see.
That actually, so Bob, I'm on a few UK forums just to see what's out there, and it's a bit different here because when someone sets up an aesthetic clinic here, it's very important to do fillers, threads, like you try and get everything in as quickly as early on. And then something for skin. But I've noticed, I don't know what the systems are, but it's very like subunits. I'm trying to, should I do something for skin? Should I do something for under the eye? I've noticed that there is still that, subunit, not treating the person as a whole thing happening.
It's incorrect. The big message is, and I teach this throughout my courses, is you've got to look at all the tissues, because every single tissue is crying out and telling you, I'm aging. Okay? So if you only are treating a volumetric issue, you're not really solving the problem. You've got to look at the skin. You've got to look at the fat, because you've got to look at the muscle tissue, and you've got to look at the bone. And unless you treat all of the, and of course you've got the ligaments as well. And there's so many things we can do to enhance and actually boost those ligaments and actually strengthen them. So there's a lot you can do. And the more you start thinking in this holistic way, the better your results are going to be. Your results, because, that's why you get these overfilled people. You see these people that are like, they look like they've swallowed a cushion. Okay? Yes. And the reason they look like they've swallowed a cushion, because they pretty much have, it's just the cushion is filler. Because the clinician has just tried to fill themselves out of a problem. They try to use just one-dimensional approach using fillers to sort the problem out. You mentioned threads. Well, what do I do in my practice? Lift and fill. It's got to be lift and fill. You lift first, rearrange the fat compartments into the right places, or as good as you can get, address the skin, and then you go to work addressing the volumetric issues. So you've got to have a strategic approach. It's very simple.
True. And what you do in clinic has to be matched at home as well, with appropriate home care or lifestyle for it to enhance whatever you're doing in the clinic as well. So it's not like, I always say to my patients, especially for things like peels or very aggressive treatments, that, if you just want to do it, it's almost like running a marathon without doing any training at all,
Absolutely.
And then myths. So myths related to aesthetics, maybe myths for patients, myths for also practitioners that think, getting into this is the glam. Like, what are the most common myths surrounding this type of medicine?
In terms of what? Sorry? In terms of?
In terms of entering this sort of this field, what is the most common myth that you've come across?
You mean from a doctor's point of view, a clinician's point of view?
Doctor's point of view, yeah.
Oh, you know what? I think a lot of people falsely think, that's changing, that it's an easy ride. They think it's something they can just sort of do on the side. And they don't really give it, initially, they don't think it's anything too serious. When I, and the way I look at that is if you have that mindset, going to grow, okay? Because you're not really allowing your mind to be open. to knowledge and concepts. So it's certainly not just an easy ride. In fact, it's as in-depth and comprehensive as you want to make it. If you want to be top of the game, you've got to be able to. I mean, I teach anatomy, right? You've got to know your anatomy inside out, so that you can be in a position to pretty much teach it. All right, to somebody, a colleague. You've got to know three-dimensionally what the hell's going on. You need to know that your systems are so predictable, whether you're using toxin, whether you're using fillers, whether you're using thread lifting, whether you're using PRP, whether you're using lasers, whether you're using chemical peels, whatever it is, you need to know that everything has a place and where that place is and how predictable that is. That's not going to happen by attending a few courses. It takes time to layer these things on together. So it's a journey. It's a journey. I start these people on a journey and a modular approach, and they come back, and then for years later they'll keep coming back, and then adding layers to their knowledge. And that's how you've got to look at this. So the myth that if clinicians think this is just something they can do on the side, it'll always remain a bit on the side, a bit of toxin, maybe a bit of lip fillers. You're not going to grow a business doing that. That is, and in fact, you're dangerous. You're not going to be treating patients properly if you have that mindset. So if you've got those factories out there, I call them these little factories that are doing like lips, or do you have them in South Africa? We have loads here. Like lip factories.
Yes, which gets on the practitioner.
You know what I mean? Where they just literally just boom, 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 one in, one out, one in, one out. And all they're doing is one area of the face. And that kind of stuff cheapens the whole concept of facial aesthetics. And your viewers, I'm sure, are a lot better than that. And I think they really understand the meaning of a proper comprehensive approach. And so you can dispel those myths very easily. Okay?
You mentioned PRP. It is so popular in South Africa. And how is it in the UK? Is it taken off? I mean, I know you've probably done a lot of it. And besides skin, is there anything else like that you use it for, like a novel sort of treatment that you employ PRP?
I think PRP as a concept is phenomenal because obviously you're harnessing the growth factors. On its own, I don't think necessarily on its own it is the be-all or end-all. I think it's a very useful adjunct to other treatments. So, for example, when I'm doing work on the skin, if we talk about skin, I will often use PRP but add other elements, other materials to the PRP to bolster the effect. So I'm not just using growth factors because obviously the growth factors are a very important part, but they don't, you're missing out on other aspects of collagen stimulation, as well as having an answer for blemishes, for acne scarring, and so on and so forth. So you need other help. The other thing I use PRP for, I make membranes for my surgery. So what I do is I use it surgically when I'm doing grafting cases. You can call it PRF, yeah. It's a fibrin membrane. But also what I use PRP as a concept. I mix this with hyaluronic acid, a particular uncross-linked hyaluronic acid, and I use it in TMD work, so temporomandibular joint dysfunction cases, for very select cases where I've got, for example, disc displacement cases, which I do an awful lot of. So I use it in a number of ways. I think PRP is great. And also, if you can mix it with fat and stem cells, I think you're going even further into the right direction.
Wow, okay. So thank you so much, Prof. Khanna. This was a really amazing talk. And as a tradition on Lockdown Live, all our guests have to leave us with a positive message. But I believe you actually are quite a good singer. And you visited, yes, and you visited South Africa before. So you actually have to leave us with a song. You have to sing us a positive message, especially for our South African viewers.
Well, first of all, can I just say thank you for having me on?
Okay.
And I'll say I'm not going to thank you for asking me to sing live on a show. before I think about that, let me just say something. As a positive message, I think I'd like everyone to be super positive. I know it's tough out there. It's tough. I know what's going on in South Africa. You guys are not even allowed to have alcohol right now, right? Alcohol is banned. I mean, geez. I mean, you know, it's terrible. But I believe it's doing great things in your country. But it's tough times. But like I said at the beginning, this is going to be a chance for you to prove what you're about. All right? These are challenging times, but you're going to be stronger, fitter, stronger, more knowledgeable out of this if you choose to use the time wisely. Be a better parent, be a better person, contact those people that you haven't been in contact with for so many years. It's now the time to do that. So I would do that. South Africa. Now, let me tell you, I'm very fond of South Africa. I've been to South Africa a number of times, mainly to support my children. I've got 3 boys, as you know, playing cricket. And they've been on cricket tours in South Africa. So I've been all over the Cape and Durban, Joburg, and, you know, Pietermaritzburg, all these, Franschhoek, all the wine farms, of course. And my wife is going to kill me, but I'm going to do something which is a bit crazy. So when we went to South Africa, typical crazy dad, driving along with our big Khanna mobile. We were staying at this really lovely hotel in on the waterfront. It's called the One and Only. You know the One and Only hotel?
Oh, yes,
on the water.
Yes,
beautiful hotel. So we're having a lovely time. Sun's out. You know, we've gone to the wine farms, having a great time. So I came out with this song dedicated to the South Africans. And it became a bit of a fun thing to do. So every time we'd go into the restaurants, I'd get the waiters to sing it with us. So I'm going to sing a few lines of that before I get booted off.
Okay, let's hear.
Are you ready for me? You can press the end button if it's too, you know. So this is for South Africans because I love you guys. All right, here we go. And remember, I was there to play cricket, watch cricket. So here we go. We come to South Africa, the home of Mandela. We come to watch the cricket and drink all the lovely wine. We're one and only by the pool. Khanna family looking cool. We come to South Africa, the home of Mandela. There you go, done. There you go.
Thank you so much, Mary.
I hope that was positive enough for you.
No, thank you so much. I hope to have you back on if we do another live. I don't know how long our lockdown is going to go on. And then everyone to please remember, check out those Facebook sessions on Tuesdays. They're really, really good. I enjoy the one on Tuesday. Thank you so much.
I've got one coming up on Thursday on exercise and nutrition. Okay? So you're going to learn how to be fitter, more healthy, throughout COVID, but also beyond COVID. So you can tune in on Thursday, that's 7 p.m. this week. So be sure to see that one. That'll be good. And every week I'm doing stuff on
UK time, hey? 7 p.m.
UK, 8 p.m. your time. So just as you're tucking into your dinner, I'll be talking about, don't put that in your mouth. No, I'm joking. I won't do that.
Oh, great. Thanks so much, Prof.
Thank you very much. You take care.
Bye-bye.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.